from what I know about Halloween the movie, especially when you are a young kid, it's just it's the standard slasher movie to a lot of people. It's the it does get, I've seen people get it confused with Friday the 13th because like a lot of people say, isn't it the guy who just kills babysitters or for having sex and all that stuff? Like, not really. He doesn't really do all that stuff. I mean, the things he does is he definitely is in the beginning going after certain people, and those certain people happen to be involved with somebody he actually wants to kill, you know, or protecting the people he wants to kill. Whoa, get that out of the way. Nobody likes a pointer. I'm sorry for that. I wish that bar would disappear. I don't. There, go away, mouse cursor. Okay, yeah, he's definitely known as, if you're ahead of that circle, he's the guy that really kills babysitters. You know, and his name is Michael Myers, which is the same name as that actor, which Robot Chicken did a very good parody of. Not a very good parody, but it was a decent parody where it's like, oh, okay, they put Michael Myers and they put him, you know, as Austin Powers killing a guy, you know, like, okay, sure. So, yeah, it was done by John Carpenter in 1976. 1976 is a long time ago. It was so rare for this movie to be kind of made, especially with the low budget it had. I mean, really low budget. They pretty much had I think they had a fan that just blew leaves, and that's how they got their fall colors, because it was filmed in California, but it was supposed to be in Haddonfield, Illinois, and they put leaves in the shots and had them blow around. I was like, okay, so it's just a suburb in California, and if you look in like shots during the daytime, if you look in the background, you can see palm trees, but you have to pay close attention to that. You have to pay very close attention. Like, I've seen it when it's pointed out by people. I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely a palm tree. But yeah, you have to look in that background because it's very hard to see. Oh, thank you, Seek. The picture is any good. I thought you were at Friends, but okay. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Oh, it's fine, man. It's fine. You can't hear anything, so yeah. Thank you for the picture. Thank you for the picture. Thank you for lurking as usual. I appreciate it. So the POV. I mean, the movie starts with a POV, like a point of view shot, and that's definitely excellent picture choice. Thank you. And the whole point of like I'm actually going to say anything. So, yeah, well, I think, oh yeah, I was going to say something. Like, the point of the POV is to, is definitely to, like, hide the fact that they have no budget, because a point of view is an excellent way just to, not actually have a child kill people, because, supposedly that Michael Myers as a kid puts on a clown mask he finds because he doesn't like his sister having sex with the boy while they're supposed to be babysitting. I'm sure because his sister was supposed to be babysitting. Instead, she's like, the boyfriend comes over to have sex, and he's like, I don't like that, especially when it's on Halloween. You know, like, I'm sure he was out trick or treating, but he was supposed to be taking care of him. Like, he just didn't care. Like, I mean, she didn't care about him, I don't think, because that's what it's implied to me, at least, when it comes to that scene. But for any case, you know, he goes inside the house and finds a clown mask and puts it on, and puts it on the camera, as you can see with the when he actually stabs his sister. It comes, you can see he looks at his hand and it comes down, which was a weird angle. but it gets the point across. And so he goes outside. He just walks, and the parents are like at home, and they're like, what are you doing with the knife? What are you doing? Like, and they take the mask off, and it turns out to be this little kid who has zero emotion about what he just did, which ends him up in the psych ward. And then the really famous piano theme and the pumpkin for Halloween comes on, and it's very good, very good. Little opener. It definitely sets a mood of terror, you know. And I definitely want to reinforce that this is still a movie that applies today. Or I should say in a more public version of today, because obviously with COVID it doesn't apply as much, but the whole like stalker and babysitter in danger aspect of this movie, which still happens in current day. You'll hear about once in a while something will happen inside someone's home, and it ends up being a someone who got killed, who had to be a babysitter or from a stalker, you know. And that's what's really what the movie is hoping that it preys upon that fear of that stalker mentality of someone following you, or like if you're a babysitter at home and you have to take care of kids and something would happen. Because if you ever listen to scary stories, or Home Alone scary stories, this is the kind of stuff that is all too real to people like that. So it definitely has that sort of feel. And just because it's made in the 1970s doesn't mean it's not applicable today for those two main reasons. So Michael, when he waits for his other relative, I think it's his sister. Like, I kind of forget because it doesn't really give you a lot of details about who is and who is not a relative, but it is a relative, you know, of some kind. I believe it's supposed to be a sister. So I'm gonna say sister. Her name is Lauren, and I believe it's called Lauren Myers, but we don't know that. And I'm gonna take a drink because my throat is hurting. My throat is hurting. Yeah. So anyways, he bricks into the psych ward, and because of that, all the rest of the patients are just wandering around the prison yard as this nurse and this guy called Dr. Loomis, which is another main character and probably one of the best actors in the Halloween franchise. I think this is the reason why I think Halloween is a much better series than Friday the 13th. It is because of this constant character of Dr. Loomis, who is played by Donald Pleasence, and he gives it his all. You know, in fact, he died in Halloween 5, I think. So in between that and the Curse of Michael Myers. So that is sad because he was a treasure for those films, you know. So yeah. So they see all these like freed people, and so like the nurse that Dr. Loomis is with stays in the car while Dr. Loomis goes to investigate what's going on. And assumably Michael breaks into the car and steals it. And his destination is obvious from the next scene, which is Lauren walking around Haddonfield, you know, which is supposedly Illinois. I never got a state for it, you know. It just said Haddonfield. I'm like, okay, where's that? I guess Illinois. Okay, so Michael can drive a car, and later on he can drive a semi truck. So he has a license to do both. All right, I guess being, as Dr. Loomis calls him, evil and it gives him supernatural driving powers or something. I don't know. It's weird, to say the least. So and so as you see, like Dr. Loomis is like, well, if he escaped, like he's not supposed to escape. Yeah, so well, he wasn't supposed to, but he did. And so Dr. Loomis goes to Haddonfield because he knows his patient very well. He's sat with him many times, and so he knows, like, Michael Myers is going to Haddonfield because it's like his it's like his Moby Dick. He's like Captain Ahab, and Michael Myers is his Moby Dick. I was gonna go for that musical, but I can't remember the name right now. I'm sure, stuff like that. So this is his white whale he's going after. Laurie, or Lauren, I'm called Laurie, but I think people call her Lauren in the movie. But Laurie, the sister, sees so the first instance of her kind of noticing that she's being followed is a brown car outside of school when she gets bored from listening to this teacher. And we've all had those. Even in the class you like, you kind of, your mind wanders and you look outside, and then like, oh yeah, I need to pay attention, because it's school. You're there to learn. Doesn't matter what subject it is, you're gonna be that person. And I'm sorry I rubbed my foot against the mic. So all right. And so, of course, she looks away because she's like, has anyone else noticed this? Or tries to, to see if anyone else sees it? Or is it just that she wants to more pay attention? And then she looks back and that brown car is gone. Which again, all these things coming up kind of reinforce the stalker aspect of what Michael Myers does. He's I guess the schools are close together because he is looking for his sister, and he's driving around, probably casing the town so he knows where to go and what to do, so he can plan his attacks, learn who Laurie's friends are, what she's doing, and then to plan accordingly, because Michael Myers is actually shown to be smart. I mean, he drove a semi truck without knowing how to drive. I mean, he just did it. I mean, he's very inventive and how he does it. He doesn't just, he doesn't stand out that much unless when he wants to stand out, as we'll find out, because there's two children that Lauren has to babysit that night, and one of them being this little boy who is probably they're probably in elementary school. That's most likely because they're like, I don't know, 9 to 10 years old. It would just look like it. And this other little girl, which happens to be a sister of her friend, so she probably did to say, you can go out and have a party and do whatever you want. I'll look after your kid sister, And so Michael, probably not in the mask, because if he was in the mask, he would have drawn attention to himself. The kid bumps into him, and Michael does nothing to him. Because he's smart enough to know not to draw attention to himself. So the kid runs away and never really looks back. Because this kid is like, I need to get away as fast as possible, but he never looks around enough. So Michael just follows him for a while. And then later on, when Lauren is with her friends, he shows up behind a bush, but it's clearly visible. And you see him in the you see him in the mask. And so when they get closer, he hides behind the bush, and then when they try to jump scare him and it doesn't work out, he's not there. So he does wear the mask sometimes out in public. So people, I don't know what that's for. I guess to intimidate her, to see that that she is coming, that he is coming. I don't know. I think it's just to as a meta to scare the audience, but it's just kind of interesting. And of course, she and of course, like before that, all the appearances by the physical appearances, he's driven that brown car, and the friends speak out while they're walking, and they say, "Hey, jerk, speed kills," because he was being checked out by the girls, and one says, "Oh, he's cute," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Mike's hit the brakes, but kind of moves on because he knows, like, I better not draw attention to myself. So she makes it home safely, even though, like, she's creeped out. She is under a lot of tension right now because that's twice that something has happened that she has noticed where this someone is stalking. She feels like she's being stalked or followed. And so she's put under stress. So she gets a phone call, which is again, those are landlines back then, and you had party lines back then, which means you couldn't get on a group call unless you had party lines, and not all people had party lines back then. So there was a call for her, and no one answers, and so the phone rings again in a couple more seconds, and her friend was like, "Why'd you hang up on me?" I was like, "Because you didn't say anything." Why did you do that? And so again, I think it's a part of the meta narrative of the movie to creep out the audience. Like, why wouldn't you say anything when someone's trying to say hello like 1,000 times? Like, come on. So it definitely relieves her stress a little bit. So it just means, like, it could be my imagination. No, it's not your imagination, Lauren. Trust me. Well, she had this moment again where she looked outside and sees Michael Myers staring back up at her, and like, what? And she looks away again, and then when she looks back, he is gone. This sort of, like, now teleporting, like, bad guy that wasn't present back then, but it was just this weird thing of, was she hallucinating or was she not? Because I think the audience knows that it's not a hallucination, but I wonder if she thinks so. Again, this creepy meta narrative of this guy is just, this reinforces the whole stalker aspect of it. It is so weird. And so, like, again, like, Michael is looming in the neighborhood. He is, like, he's checking out places. He goes, he knows where this is the town where he used to live. And like what, 20 years ago or something like that, he killed his sister and maybe the boyfriend, and then came back, so this is obviously, like, to them it's an isolated incident, so there's no reason to be alert for this upcoming Halloween in 1976 in Haddonfield, Illinois. And then one night, the local police and Dr. Search's old house, they go through because, well, he might be here. And they're like, no, there's nothing here. It's cold in the rain. Let's just try to find him somewhere else. Yeah, and then again, he calls him it. He doesn't say this is a person. And that really disconnects him from being human. It's not it's a thing. It's an it. It doesn't, again, trying to say it. Michael doesn't have feelings. He gets angry, but again, we don't know that for sure. Like, oh, surely he has some kind of ethics because he doesn't kill on sight. If he was evil, I don't know. Like, but then again, not all evil is so forward. It is conniving. So I guess so. Yeah. So he is stalking the rest of one of the friends too, where they plan to, like, when their sister's at the other place, they're pretty much gonna have a gay old time up in the bedroom with some guy, you know. And so there's a dog who just barks because Michael's right there. Of course, this dog's gonna bark at him. And so again, I think this speaks to the whole stalker mentality, because dogs warn against people being on your property, and so he kills the dog, which is automatically makes him just the worst person ever. To see people reaction to the dog being killed is like, you're a monster. I hope you die. Like, yeah, you pretty much, he's on your side, but man, that's like something that stalkers kind of hate is dogs. So again, like, it's definitely reinforcing that stalker stuff. In my mind, if he feels like a stalker, and he is, like, it is clear at this point that he is stalking people. And since he's there, they'll have panning shots where the girlfriend. I should say one of Lauren's friends. Thank you for lurking. And when she's moving around the house, you can in the background he will be there. And since he's in his mask, you always see the outline of his face, because a white face in the dark is really scary. Just as people who made The Exorcist, you know, it's very effective. So she goes to the car to go pick up the guy, and they do this shot of the. I'm sorry, they do the shot of the car, where the door, and she has the key, but she learns that, oh, it's unlocked, so she just unlocks it without thinking, because again, a more innocent time. But if you find your door unlocked without using your key on the door, something's up. But maybe she just forgot to do it, or, you know, she's not thinking. She's thinking, I'm gonna, you know, go get me some, you know. And so he's in the back seat again, reinforcing that stalker sort of setup where if someone's in the back seat, you better check. You know, this is before the urban legend of the back seat stuff too. So Michael Myers pioneered this sort of thing of looking in the back seat before you go anywhere. So Lauren babysits for friend, little sister, and Laurie's brother, which I don't know if the little boy is his brother, but it seems like she knows him very well. Like she sees him all the time. You know, they have this sort of brother-sister relationship. And I'm gonna take another drink. It's kind of funny. Someone said they're lurking, and it's like silently. No, I guess you know when the stream ends, when I run out of image. So, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So they start watching these two start watching the thing from another world, which is the original movie of the thing, where that's where John Carpenter got it from. And so he was a big fan of that, so he put it in the movie as a reference to he wanted to do in the future, because he did direct the thing. So that's neat. And so they start to watch it, and she gets really scared, and it's like, so he goes behind this little boy goes behind the curtain to scare this little girl, because boys live to antagonize little girls. I guess. Of course, that's something I don't know if that still happens or not, but nonetheless, he does do it, and so he starts to look outside and sees Michael Myers standing in front of the house, and just looking at his general direction from that house, but all you see is the black outline and his face. You don't know if he sees him or not, but he gets so scared he backs up, gets spooked, and he's like, "Oh no, we're not being afraid." And then later on, like he gets spooked again, seeing Michael Myers carrying a body to the front door. And so, like, he calls Lauren, "Hey, there's the boogeyman. He's right out there. The boogeyman exists." You know, and of course he's like, "There's no one out there. You're an idiot. Quit trying to scare people." You know. And so, like, then, and during the next door, I believe during that, in between those points, another friend is next door, and they're going to do it. Another friend, because she has 3 friends. And so, I don't know if she has 2 friends or 3 friends. I believe she has 2 friends. 2 friends, okay? And the other friend is like, she has her boyfriend over. And so, he goes downstairs to get something, or to do something, I forget what. And he gets stabbed for his trouble. Stabbed so hard that he is hung like on the wall for like a minute of screen time, and it's done by like a butcher knife, which is like, I think, Michael Myers' weapon of choice, as you can see from the cover. But yeah, this big time butcher knife, and I need to move for a little bit. Okay, we're good until my leg falls asleep. And again, like, Mike Myers has no emotion. He just breathes hard sometimes, and that's it. It's, I guess, to sell him more as human being. I mean, more human, you know. But man, he just, like, he never talks either. I believe that's where Jason Voorhees got it from. So he puts on the body sheets to pretty much disguise himself from the woman, and she's like, "Yeah, you see." He's like, "Yeah, you see what you like," and Michael Myers just comes in closer, kills her by strangulation. I'm like, oh man, this guy. You can tell he's smart enough to use disguises and do all this stuff. I mean, Jason is a powerhouse. Michael Myers is I need to be smart. I need a little bit smarter so I can have my prey be a little bit off guard, you know, because Michael Myers is not totally invincible. And so when there ends up being no answers from the house, I believe Lauren calls the house next door, and with all that stuff with the boogeyman and feeling of being stalked, she tells the little kids, just stay inside, lock the doors, and wait for me. I'm gonna go next door and check on them. And so she does. And so the friend's house is empty as she calls out to them. And when she goes upstairs, there's a light on in the room. It's kind of like when Giles goes to check on in Buffy, where it's like she's just dead on the bed. And not only that, it turns out from earlier in the movie that Dr. Loomis got an alert from the local police that Michael Myers stole a headstone of a relative. I don't know if it's his sister's headstone, but it was someone related to Michael Myers. And he got that headstone and put it on the bed with the body. It's actually like a very horrifying image, and that really sets the tone for what happens next. She starts finding all the bodies. He stacked them in a particular order for her to find them on the way out of of that room, and then he makes his attack. Um, strikes her in the leg, I think, and then it's either the arm or the leg, and then she trips sort of over the banister and falls down the stairs, and she is very hurt by that, and not anything broken. She's just really hurting and off balance, and so he takes his time just to go downstairs because why not? And there's a little bit of a little social commentary, I think, in this movie where they talk about the where nobody helps her because it's a Halloween. It could be Halloween prank. It could be that neighbors don't care about each other. You know, like people are just getting more uncaring as time goes on. Who knows? But when she cries out for help, as soon as she comes out that door, and Michael Myers is still walking, and she goes to another neighbor's house, and they shut the lights off on her. And I'm like, wow, you wouldn't even consider that she might need help. But so she goes back home instead, and locks the doors and said, the boogeyman is real, okay? And so Michael Myers breaks in because enough being subtle, and so attacks Laurie, but she has the upper hand and knocks him out by using a sewing needle in his neck, or I think that happens later. But before that, she definitely knocks him out somehow. I forget how. Man, it's kind of funny. I want to talk about these movies and I barely know what happens, you know. But yeah. And so she tells the kids to go to another neighbor's and try to get help because he's right here. So as long as you're out there, you're much better at this. And plus, I think she knows that he's after her, and so yeah, he never really attacked the kids. It was the adults who happened to be somehow related to Lauren, or if they got in the way or anything like that. It is again, I know I said this before, but that's sort of like what a stalker does. Really, I mean, if you're getting in the way, you're trying to get between them. If you don't have any friends but me, you know, a very overbearing stalker sort of mentality. And the other side of what you want to talk about, since all that stuff is over, is the fear of babysitting aspect, because there is a general fear that for babysitters, men and women, but I think this is go toward more women, because when you're alone with kids in the house, you're responsible for those kids, and if something were to happen, you don't know if you're strong enough to detour this person, or it could be an animal, from getting to these kids. And what if these circumstances lead to you having physical confrontation? You know, because after all, there's no real help nearby, or if there is no help nearby, there's no help at your beck and call at once, then it could be a really horrible situation. And these usually babysitting jobs happen at night, you know, in an unfamiliar house you're not familiar with kids that you don't know, with maybe a night that they know that the kids go out. It could be a robber, it could be someone who knows you, you know, and that's definitely a general fear of, you know, a call happens by a babysitter babysitting, and a call happens saying, I know you're babysitting, and I'm coming to kill the kids, stuff like that. You agree with Zeke? Yeah, you are silently lurking? Okay, then. Yeah, or, or it's the picture. But thank you, Donatello, for showing up. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to remember the best of my abilities. And so that's the other aspect other than the stalker, which is um, the scared part of being a baby, especially in the 1970s when this is how teenage girls made their money. Because I remember my mom talking about being a babysitter back in the day, and you made money by watching kids all day long. And if something happened, the parents weren't around. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't have all these things. It was a very frightening situation if something were to happen while you were there alone with a couple of kids. It's something that is a general fear by somebody, especially back then, but it can still happen today. Just go online and search for scary stories about being home alone or babysitting story. These things still happen, but I think the stalker aspect is something that happens more today. Where people can find you, and if they don't like you, they can find you, and especially when in our current political climate, it's very, very frightening. So, as Michael Myers is stabbed through the neck, and he still gets back up, and Lauren fights him off, and she has nowhere to go, but so she goes upstairs because Michael Myers is between her and the front door, so she has no choice but to go upstairs. And so because he's so slow, she has time to hide, and she hides in the closet and ties rope around it, which is pretty smart. She's trying to do something, but unfortunately, if you were to check something and it's locked, then you're obviously in there. It's like, okay. And it takes him a while, but he's like, I'm tired of trying to get through here the easy way. I mean, the hard way, the honest way. He just busts through with his hands. His hands are through the closet, and he's searching for with his hands, like a present, at a present at the bottom of the cereal box. He's like, where's my toy at the bottom of the Fruit Loops, and he's searching for, and so he eventually gets more and more, through this wooden plate door of this closet, and she starts to make a makeshift weapon out of a coat hanger, but as Michael Myers is busting through with his hands, he drops a knife, and so, which is very convenient, and so she picks up the knife and stabs him on the arm. He really fits his back, and so she takes her advantage and charges him with the knife and stabs him, and of course she takes a breath of fresh air, thinking oh good, this is a human being, he should be dead. Of course, as the audience, we think, if a needle in the neck won't stop him, he probably, he stood up in the background, he's up again. And so as you see coming closer and closer, you have this whole thing of the audience turn around, he's right there, but of course he finally gets his hands on Lauren. But as soon as that happens, Dr. Loomis realizes familiar where he might be, because he still has relatives, and so he tracks them down, and just in time too, with the guns, strikes Michael Myers, who just revealed his face, he looks pretty good. He looks well shaven for a guy who was in a psych ward for um, I don't know, more than a decade. And so Dr. Loomis is like shoots him like 5 times over a balcony, and he falls. And of course, Dr. Loomis makes sure, and he's down there. He goes, "Oh, good, he's still down there." He comes back to Lauren and makes sure that she's okay, and they both go on the balcony again, and he's gone. And this not only sets up for a sequel, which I don't think they plan to do, because it doesn't look like it. Because in the final shot, it shows the house in front of it. It shows the like a POV of the house as it gets further and further away with this POV, which I think is another kind of subtle, horrifying element to the movie, where this could be your house. He could be at your house, or something like that. He turned into a ghost. Nah, Seek is not a ghost. He's just he's at a party with friends, so he can't hear me. So he's just lurking, and he's just looking down at it. And as long as I have this picture up, he knows I'm streaming. So yeah. I hope people can hear me, but I don't know. OBS says it hears me, unless it's not, and then I'm not doing this again. So yeah. So it also brings us to the fear of this. Not this could happen to you, not the exact thing, but something similar could happen to you. That's supposed to be the fear of it anyway. So they did that on a very small budget, and they returned their budget. So that's the end of my little bit in talking about it. And plus, you hear his breathing during that final shot, so he's definitely still out there. That's the end of that. That's in my notes anyway. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything about the movie Halloween or anything like that, but it's definitely what put John Carpenter on the map as a filmmaker. And I don't know if it's his first movie or not, but it's definitely the movie that definitely was his way, his foot into the door when it comes to movies. Check if I'm pretty sure people can hear me, but I need to check my I need to check real quick. Foot into the door. Okay, you can't hear me. Good. I'm sorry, but I just needed to check. Foot into the door. All right, it didn't update, so I apologize. So yeah. Oh. What the heck? Oh. I disagree. I think the I don't know anything about the Rob Zombie one, but I definitely don't think that old horror movies are the gum. It's definitely the. If I had to declare anything about old horror movies, is that they're definitely. I'd say they're more the adhesive that keep keep it from dying, because there was a craft to an objective craft to older horror movies to be taken seriously. After all, the old 70s horror movies were definitely not 70s horror movies, but definitely when it comes to 70s movies, they were trying to yes, he did speak, and they were trying to take it seriously as an art form. back then, and so they needed to be artsy as possible. But with that artsiness came with the ability to go further than just trying to attract people by emotion. There became this thing in the mid 70s to the late 70s to be this to be objective with the filming techniques, what they did with especially with people who had a small budget like John Carpenter, who made it actually a subtle stalker film. It wasn't blown up. It wasn't a this thing. It was very simple. The characters are very simple, so people could follow it. And so when something extraordinary happened, it was unexpected. It definitely had a lot to it. And without this film, you would never have Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, maybe not even Alien. I should say, I think Alien is probably the. I'll say yes to that. And so, because that's like a stalker movie in space, and that movie is very well financed, with some good practical effects. You know, this it had a bunch of good starts, but again, I've never seen Rob Zombie. I can't comment on it. So I've seen reviews of it, and some people don't like it, but it definitely has a way with it though. But still, the trappings of the Rob Zombie one, especially when it comes about, well, it's Rob Zombie. He's gonna have his villains be this way, because Rob Zombie doesn't really do variety of characters. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. The Halloween 3, the season of the witch. Yes. Thank you, Donatello. That's an interesting one because it's about the season of the witch is on Hallows, on certain Hallows Eve, when I believe on certain Halloweens when the like this one, I believe the moon is full or something like that. They need to make sacrifices to the dark forces, so they made masks to pretty much kill children, and it's signaled by this broadcast of a commercial for Silver Shamrock masks, and so they had to stop it. And this is very typical for actually a lot of older movies, is that to create something horrifying out of something benign, like It Lives. I mean, not It Lives. I mean, what's it called? We mentioned it last night. On like it, yeah, It Lives, where basically like it's glasses that takes off the illusion of there's another race on Earth, and they have to uncover it. And so in that movie, they try to in Halloween 3, they try to uncover this thing where in. So this guy at the very end of the movie, because I'm going to spoil the crap out of this movie, and the scariest part is at the end. I think it's a very effective scare, even though the premise on its head and the soundtrack is terrible. The soundtrack for Halloween 3 is a period piece of 80s sync keyboard, and it is terrible music. It doesn't create really any tension. It just kind of makes me go, well, that doesn't age well. And so at the very end, he calls these TV stations and says, "You need to take these ads off the air tonight. If you don't, children will die." And so he gets 2 out of 3 stations to cancel it. And so the other one is hesitating, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Take the ad off the air! Do it now, please!" Like, and then it just ends. You don't know if they took the ad off the air or children died or not. You know, it's a very good for. That's the only like really good part of that movie is the end, because it actually leaves you with chills, because this guy is so in earnest about what he's screaming about. It actually makes me believe that he's trying to save lives. It's very interesting. And I'm not really talking about Halloween 3. Yeah. That was an interesting. There was a Halloween. I believe the one Seek may be talking about is Halloween H2O, which has nothing to do with water. It's Halloween 20 years later, and it was actually okay. It wasn't that bad because Halloween aged better than Friday the 13th. Does that make sense? Well, the reason why they did that is because they wanted Halloween to be an anthology film series, but Halloween 3 did terrible at the box office, so they went back to so they went back to Michael Myers, and therefore made their money back, and they just continued with Michael Myers ever since. That's the reason. So that's the reason for Season of the Witch, which is honestly, if you're curious about that movie, I think give it a watch. It's worth watching once just to have a conversation piece. And what in the world? I didn't know that was there. I apologize. It's a very interesting movie. If you have a morbid curiosity, I say go check it out. It's not as bad as some people say it is, but it's not that good either. It's somewhere in the middle of the road. It has a few good scenes of actual horror. So yeah, that was their excuse. They wanted to make an anthology film series of different things about Halloween, and I think the spiritual successor of that is Trick or Treat, which is basically a film about Halloween, about the spirit of Halloween. Shouldn't mess with it. It has a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Friday the 13th. Let's. Oh yeah. You should go ahead and watch it, man. I mean, like, Friday the 13th has its place. It has its interesting points. I need to see A New Beginning again. I haven't seen that in years. Said to be the black sheep of it, but I'm like, nah. I think the weird ones the really bad ones happen at like 6, 7, 8 and stuff like that. Like I said, Michael Myers aged a lot better than Jason Voorhees. My gosh. I hope that mic didn't pick that up. Jeez, man. So yeah, that's all I have. I can't really say anything more. Halloween 2 takes place in a hospital where Lauren is there. It was supposed to be the end of Michael Myers. What the heck? What? Huh? Oh, yeah. Okay. If you're talking about the first Friday the 13th, where the mother is the killer, yeah, Mrs. Voorhees, sort of being a pioneer, but we've had female killers before. Like the whole thing is the whole thing about 80s horror is that you gotta have a twist. Except for Halloween. Halloween never had a twist. It's just a guy. But Carrie did it. Carrie had the twist. Friday the 13th had the twist. What else had a twist? Sleepaway Camp had the twist. There was a whole bunch of films that had that. Chat while driving. Okay, that explains it. Cause like, what? I'm like, what? Yeah, that's definitely was it. I, now I feel like a radio host. No, I feel like a radio host. Yeah, see, how dare he? How dare he on a red ten? Oops, I hit it again. So, I don't know what else to think about, really. Because this is gone on far enough about it's gone off topic enough where I can just end this point right here. And then Halloween 4, he returns on Michael Myers because there's another sister, there's another relative, and she ends up with psychic powers. The killer was female. Oh, the killer was female? That's interesting. I actually don't know. It could be Friday the 13th, but I doubt that's true. But then again, I'm not going to Google it in the middle of this. I'm going to go off the. I'm going to go off of my own brain. So there's Friday the 13th, which was 1980, which was 1978, I think. And because this was 76. And so, let's see. It might have been. Of course, there was Mrs. Frankenstein. I don't know if she killed anybody. There might have been a werewolf that was female. I know American Werewolf in Paris is about a female werewolf. The Howling, no. I think I don't know. Mrs. Frankenstein never did it, so it might be she. May be the. I still think Mrs. Voorhees is the first serial killer, female serial killer in a movie, because there was Last House on the Left, which was it also had a female in it who killed. So I don't know. I'm trying to pull like all my brain power to figure that out. But yeah, so I'm gonna end the Halloween stuff because I can't think of anything else. So I'm gonna end that.